Boston Bruins trade talks continue to escalate as a recent report has revealed one Bruins player that is set to be traded here in this offseason. We're going to be breaking it down as well, going over why these reports are suggesting multiple different things, as well as going over the goaltending situation with Brandon Bussi gone. Michael DiPietro re-signed. What does this mean for Joonas Korpisalo? The names and trade reports have been swirling. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into it, though, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already. We're on the road to 8K, and your guys' sports been absolutely incredible as of late. There's no sign of slowing down for this Bruins news, as they have more work to be done, and that's something that we've been discussing here over the past little while, and I'm going to have it all for you guys here as it happens. Now, we got to get into this because reports are continuing to heat up about trades. Now, I mentioned yesterday, the trade video, going over what players could be coming to the Boston Bruins, and this is one that now we kind of know what could be going out. Reports are coming out saying that the Bruins are still eyeing trades on a few players, and we got to jump into it right now. David Pastrnak from the fourth period saying the Bruins explored the trade market on Zacha during the season, and there is belief out there that Boston is looking again at him, moving. His 10-team no-trade list turned into an 8-team on July 1st, so he still does have some say in where he ends up. If dealt, he has 2 years remaining on his contract. Now, we know Pavel Zacha has been kind of this Swiss Army knife for the Boston Bruins over the past few seasons, especially where we have seen him play on the wing, play down the middle. Wherever you need a guy like Pavel Zacha, you can put him. And that's kind of the benefit for a guy like Pavel Zacha, even though this team was trying to trend in a different direction. And surprisingly, Pavel Zacha was not one of these names that we saw traded at the deadline last year. Seems like his name was thrown out there a little bit alongside Morgan Geekie, although Morgan Geekie, we know, got re-signed, was definitely the right move. But Pavel Zacha was okay last year. 47 points to 59 the year before, 57 the year before that with the Bruins. He's been pretty good over his track record, but once again, it looks like it's a change of scenery needed for Pavel Zacha, and this is where the Bruins are looking at exploring a trade option for him. And right now, I would say it's at his peak value, what it will be for the remainder of his career. You know, he could have not a resurgence necessarily, but have a big boost if he does continue on again another season, and that's something that's very hard to justify saying that he will or will not. But right now, Pavel Zacha seems to be at the highest point in his trade value. Now, there are a few things that I would suggest and kind of recommend to not do for the Boston Bruins, and it is very tough to kind of break up what they have going on with Czechia between him and David Pastrnak. Obviously, they're friends outside of the Bruins as well and have been before. But going back to this as well, Czechia players are coming in, in waves towards the Boston Bruins, and it's something that a lot of people are going to be very interested about in a couple years, because we know how David Pastrnak has been kind of going around and looking at these players as well, younger players coming in from Czechia, and Pavel Zacha is playing a big part in that as well, and being here, so that would be a major lapse in chemistry, but of course, you have to go about your business, and it is a business after all. You have to break up relationships, even though it's not something you want to do, and Pavel Zacha would likely cause a bit of issue there. Now, we do have another kind of report coming out from a possibility of what we're seeing on a trade for Pavel Zacha. Michael DeRosa from the Hockey News put this out. With the Flames being a team on the rise, they could also, like Zacha, because of his contract, a 2015 first-round pick, an affordable $4.75 million cap hit, until the end of the 26-27 season, so he would be more than a one-year rental for them if acquired. The Flames also have a very appealing trade candidate in defenseman Rasmus Andersson. Now, I spoke about Rasmus Andersson here in last video, so be sure to go check that out, but this is a very interesting trade when it does come down to it, because, of course, as we look towards a Pavel Zacha type deal, and looking at the forwards right now, Zacha is currently in the top 6, where we know we need another player in there, so getting rid of Pavel Zacha would need a forward in return. You know, going ahead and getting a defenseman, it is doable. You know, you can do that. That is fine. However, you would have to make moves elsewhere to be able to go ahead and do this. And, you know, trying to add to this top 6 right now, and the Bruins weren't able to do it in free agency, caused a bit of concern for a few Bruins fans. And, you know, I'm not there just yet, because I still think we have a pretty good roster, honestly. Looking at this NHL roster here, it's built for deep runs and deep games, and going into, you know, the 59th minute up by 1. These are the types of players I want to see out on the ice. Now, going towards the defense, though, Rasmus Andersson, he's very, very good. There's no doubt about that, and the defense right now is pretty locked up, and I think the only person I would be actually willing to remove from this right side is Andrew Peeke at this current moment, and we saw how good he was able to be last year when punching above his weight class and going when McAvoy was out, when Yogi Harju was not on this team. He was really a guy that was playing even some first-line minutes, so it is tough to be able to kind of slot him in anywhere else apart from the third line here now, even though he was good. When you have Jokiharju ahead of him, who was just recently re-signed, Charlie McAvoy healthy, you have to play those two ahead. So Rasmus Andersson would certainly make this team better. Going on an expiring deal at 4.5, he also could be a candidate for the Bruins to flip when he's projected a $7 million deal. And it's a very interesting kind of decision to take a look at, and I think that is one that a lot of teams are interested in really going about. Now, there are a few other teams interested, of course, and when we do jump into it and kind of take a look at this trade at least, it would be a very, very similar cap hit. I think the Bruins would be freeing up $200K in cap, Calgary taking it on. Now, that would mean if it was 1-for-1. So, realistically, you're looking at two very, very similar contracts here, just a year apart with $200K apart. If something like this were to go down, of course, Calgary needs some offense. The Bruins could take on a defenseman and either flip him for some top 6 players or go ahead and trade someone on the right side. Wouldn't really make sense, but it is an option for the Boston Bruins. So I want to know what you think right there about all of this, because it is a very interesting kind of decision to take a look at, and especially with the Bruins looking specifically for a top 6 and kind of getting rid of one in this case. It may not be the ideal option, but it does give them a very good option as a flip on defense. Now, as I mentioned as well, we do have another kind of update on who this could be in a trade for Pavel Zacha, and this comes in from David Pastrnak once again. Two teams, the Vancouver Canucks and the Utah Mammoth, have expressed interest in acquiring Zacha. The Boston Bruins forward, who still is under contract for 2 more seasons, isn't someone Boston seems eager to part ways with, but that hasn't stopped them from calling. Now, once again, I don't think that anything with Pavel Zacha is going to be happening unless it is a major win for the Bruins, and unless they get a very good top 6 forward in return. This Rasmus Andersson kind of trade, I really don't hate it, but right now, in this specific Boston Bruins team and where they currently stand, I don't think it's one that they should actively go out and pursue unless it is for a forward, like I mentioned. So let me know what you think about that, but we do have to move on with another trade candidate, this one being a goaltender. We've spoken about Joonas Korpisalo before. Knowing now, especially with Michael DiPietro re-signed, likely to be the NHL backup, it's almost definitely happening that we're going to see Joonas Korpisalo in a different team next year. And Jamie Murphy tweeted this out on June 30th. Lots of trade chatter around the Bruins goalie Joonas Korpisalo after Michael DiPietro signed this morning, trying to confirm teams that are poking around. Now, I don't think any teams actually came out, but there's a lot of teams that we know could be available for Joonas Korpisalo. And this is not just Jimmy Murphy tweeting this out. It was a lot of people saying that what's now going to happen with Joonas Korpisalo, that Michael DiPietro was signed. And, of course, that was June 30th. And we still do not have an update after this. But we know that Joonas Korpisalo was not happy with his playing time last year. Going from that, kind of calling out the Bruins, making this Michael DiPietro signing official on another pretty steal of a deal, honestly, as a backup in the NHL, and a player who has certainly earned that spot now. And looking at the cap that we have between all 3 of these goalies, it certainly seems like Joonas Korpisalo does not have a spot in this team. He's the oldest of the group, also making $4 million for a backup who is really not the best goaltender, but certainly can hold his own. It makes so much more sense for Michael DiPietro to come in this team, and whether the Bruins can actually trade Joonas Korpisalo for positive value or not is still yet to be determined. There are some teams who are looking for goalies, but a lot of teams that we've been able to see, San Jose looking for another one. They now went out and got another goaltender in free agency. There's just been so many moves that have filled in goaltenders, and most teams have what they're looking for. So unless the Bruins maybe get up a pick or give up one to get rid of Joonas Korpisalo, still not sure how a trade would go down between the Bruins and whatever other team would be interested in him, but it certainly seems like something like that is imminent. We have to get rid of Joonas Korpisalo as soon as possible. Few reasons, because it gives the Bruins a lot more cap space. Now, you're probably thinking, $4 million, not really a lot, but when you're considering what they need to do to get another top 6 player, whether they go out and actually make a splash, we know how many picks they have, we know what they could give up. There are some big options to be able to get some big players, if available, for this Boston Bruins team, and it seems like they need to do that if they want any bit of success here in this season. So let me know what you think there in the comments below about these 2 trades in specific. I don't know so much about the Zacha one, how I'm feeling about that. I don't really like the idea right away, unless it's for a top 6 forward, but to be able to get that top 6 forward that the Bruins really need to put either on the first line, behind, either or above Morgan Geekie, it would be, you're not going above Pastrnak unless you're getting a center. There are some options here in the top 6 to be able to go and add one of these big talents in there. So let me know what you think, but this is all I have in this video. If you did enjoy it, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.